Hello, Rose. How are you?
Hey, love, long time no see.
It's been forever. It really has. We've had a little hiatus here at Healing Through Love, but we're back. We're back, and we aren't even stopping over Christmas. We're going all the way through. We have got such an exciting agenda, haven't we, Rose?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't wait to introduce you to our upcoming guests.
We've got a really exciting menu of amazing humans. Well, welcome to the Healing Through Love show. We are a social enterprise whose vision is to shift awareness on domestic and family violence within the community and to support survivors. Our mission is to provide family and domestic violence survivors with a soft place to land by offering advice and services for them and their families.
Yes, and as well as the Healing Through Love show, we hold an annual Pamper Day event in South Australia. And this is where local businesses come together and they pay it forward by providing their services and their resources for free, and just to give the survivors a day of nurturing and feel goodness. And each week on the show, we introduce experts and survivors who want to share their personal stories with us and with you, and offer advice and some hints and tips and some practical ideas on how you can navigate your way through your experiences of abuse. So, yeah, this is what we do.
I love it. And thank you, Rose. So Rose is going to be, well, she's going to be behind the scenes making everything happen, but she'll come back at the end of today's interview because we like to tell you about what's happening next in 2022 for the Healing Through Love program. So thanks, Rose, for joining us. We'll see you at the end. Today, we've got a very special guest, Rik. Oh, and I'm going to get the name wrong, Schnex. I'm sorry, Rik, you're going to have to correct that for me. And he's going to talk about brain untrained. Rik has more than 37,000 hours of brain untraining experience and has been teaching life coaching and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, since 2004. So he must be close friends with Michael Grinder. I have to find out more about that story. If there is anyone who knows how to relieve grief, trauma, anxiety, depression, and poor mental health, it's Rik. He's our expert today, and he's going to be sharing us his own personal story and taking us and guiding us through. He was born to a family of worn-torn immigrants who struggled financially and as a result were stressed and easily triggered. And as a result, he was often beaten violently by his mother, and known too well the defeating self-esteem that comes from domestic violence. However, learned how to change his brain and how to teach others how to follow his expertise. He is now Australia's #1 brain untrainer. I love it. Please welcome to the stage, Rik. Hello, Rik. How are you?
I am good, Charlene. Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction.
That you wrote. I love it, Rik. Now, can you please say your last name?
My last name is Schnabel.
Schnabel, like schnapps, but better.
Exactly.
I love it, Rik. Now, we at the Healing Through Love show, we do love to hear, your story, how you got to where you are. We also really love to know, easy tools and techniques that our audiences can embrace. Like, what can they learn right now that can help them retrain their brain so they can move forward? And then thirdly, we like to know, what are you offering today that that can titillate our listeners, something that they can put their teeth into to take their education today to the next level. So, Rik, over to you.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll start with my own personal story. I grew up in an environment. Both my parents were from Germany. I was the very first child in a family of 4 who was born in Australia. But being born in Australia, in the very early 60s, it was a bit of a melting pot of all sorts of nationalities, and the school that I went to, it basically had an incredible amount of racism that happened, a lot of bullying that happened, literal fights that broke out in the schoolyard a lot, and I was a bit of a central focus in that. But what I actually learned about a lot of that was that because I had so much domestic abuse as a kid growing up, my mother was really the tyrant of the family, and she would find anything she could and hit you with it. And so basically, you know, what happened is I learned from a very young age that this was a normal part of life. But what happened is I wanted to get away from my home as often as I could. So my best friend was a library card. And what I did is I spent, like, from, you know, a very young age, as soon as I get a library card, I got one. And I spent a lot of time in the kids section, of course, reading books, you know, because it was nice to see animations. They seemed to be kind. You know, drawings seem to, you know, have smiles on their faces, and the world of Disney and, you know, all those books in the library just seemed like the world was a wonderful place. So I spent a lot of time there. But eventually you know, a few years later, I started to gravitate out of the kids section and I moved into the psychology section. And I started reading at a very young age adult books on psychology, and I started to realize that maybe there's an opportunity for me. Maybe my life isn't destined to fall into this horrible hole. And so I started to realize that you can actually change yourself. And I went on a quest to change myself. I became, you know, an absolute consumer of books. I just read so many books. I used to go out with a big stack. I remember they had a limit, and they'd say, no, you can't take that many out. And so I'd have to choose which books I would put back. But that habit of reading started to teach me a lot about the brain. It started to teach me about how we think and how we become who we become. And of course, eventually, in a later part of my life, I enrolled in studying psychology and studying life coaching and neuro-linguistic programming. And I had, I guess, a lot of anger because, you know, if someone keeps hitting you, what typically you often will get sad, then you get frustrated, and then frustrated, as Freud once said, it was hydraulic. Frustration is hydraulic. So lots of frustration eventually turn to anger and people explode. And the biggest fear that I had, particularly with the bullying going on, was that I was going to kill somebody, because I had so much anger in me that I just hated the world. I hated people. I retreated from people. I didn't trust people. I didn't trust my own family. And I wanted to get away from my family as often as I could. And even some of the men in my family were a little bit old school. They believed that a good swift kick and a hit was, you know, was the way that you keep them in line, and, you know, all that palaver. And so as a result of that, I just wanted to get away from all of them. And, you know, I remember even having a book that, you know, had all my family members listed in this book. And I used to, you know, draw a little line every time they did something that I didn't like. And, you know, and it was kind of to see who was the least popular of my family. And, you know, and I just basically was just hugely angry about it. But later on, I discovered that what was going on in my early years was going to affect me later on. And, you know, there was a study in 2012, and it was a domestic violence study. And they found that not only does it affect domestic violence affect us neurologically, like mentally, there's also physical things that happen in our body. Like it almost basically, it's in there. In what they did is they did this stress biology research, and they measured very stressful biomarkers in our bodies. And they discovered that people who were subjected to, you know, any sort of domestic violence from, you know, being born to 18 dramatically affected their adult life. You know, like 40, 70 years later, what would happen is they would be more susceptible to, you know, cardiac issues, issues such as anxiety, depression, and all those things go without saying. But the body pressures was essentially, you know, they had cardiovascular disease, metabolic disease. They had They also had dementia. They were more likely to get dementia. And of course, we know the mental side of it, with suicide and all of that. And that for me was really my turning point, when I actually got to a point that I wanted to take my own life. I just thought, life wasn't worth living. Thankfully, I was really bad at it. And I
6342257.
And I didn't succeed at it. And but that was my turning point. And that was when I said, that's it. I'm going to do everything I can to change how I think. So hence, I started untraining my own brain around it.
And look at you now. So now you've helped more than 37,000 people with the information that you've learned, and taking it to a next level. So out of everything that you've learned, so there's lots of skill sets there, NLP, the psychology, everything. Is there one overarching thing that for you is like a game changer?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a tool I learned in neurolinguistic programming called Timeline. And a timeline essentially is a tool where you revisit your past, because how we become who we become is largely based on so many decisions, that happen in our life. And as a result of these decisions, we become who we become, because we decide, I'm not smart, I'm not good looking, I'm not sporting enough, I'm not this enough, that enough, etc. But a lot of that tends to come from the lack of love that we get growing up. And because we don't get that love, and, boys actually tend to cop it a little bit more than girls. Girls kind of, for their parents, remain cute for a fair part of their life until they sort of get to sort of their late teens. And then parents, statistically slow down the hugging, slow down, the love, and you're probably familiar with love languages, and some people do. They actually need connection. Some people need those words of affirmation. Some people need gifts and so forth. But if we don't get that, then what happens is we start concluding that we're not good enough. And, that's going to come out in all sorts of areas, because we think, surely there's something wrong with me because I'm not getting this attention that I really want. Boys start losing the hugs from about age 8. They get a lot less hugs than they normally get, and, a lot less of those signals of love, essentially.
It's fascinating what we do to our children, and and yet we are just, we're the end result of what's happened to us. And like, it's about breaking the chain. It's about lifting that level of awareness so that we're seeing what behaviors that we are bringing to the party and what we can help change for our children. So many of our listeners will have young children, and many of them will be in my age bracket that have grandchildren. So we can sort of fix it up for the next generation, perhaps. So
Hopefully.
That's fascinating. I love timeline therapy. I think it's amazing. I love the ability to have that awareness, to have a look at the old story and then to make a conscious decision to rewrite that. I think it's one of the most powerful tools, is that level of awareness to see that it is just a story and it can be rewritten, and that you've got the power. So I absolutely love that. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you work with people? Like, is it face-to-face? Is it online? Is it in workshops? Is it in webinars? Like, how do you work with your clients?
Well, one of the things that we did back in 2008, I've written quite a number of books, and there was one particular book that did exceptionally well, and it did global sales. And we started getting so many other people from other countries wanting to work. And of course, most people have this crazy paradigm that they have to be in a room with you in order to work with you. And of course, COVID has certainly taught us that that's not the case. So what we did is we reinvented ourselves, and we said, right, from this point forward, we're no longer doing, I used to have a clinic, I had two rooms, and people used to come to see me for all sorts of things. And we shut the clinic, we said, right, from this point forward, we are actually only going to be doing things online. So we started doing work on Skype. It was no different to working in a clinical room. And the great thing is you can start working with all sorts of people. The challenge, of course, is that if you're working in Australia with people, in America and London and so forth, you've got to get up really early in the morning or go to bed later. But these days, particularly with the technology that we have, it's fantastic. Anyone can access really good skills and talents from anywhere. And so that's what we did. So we really changed the game. We also decided to start publishing a lot of resource material so that in between coaching sessions, our clients could start to get educated, because I really do believe education is a great piece. It's a really good part of the journey. And I don't like just having people in front of me and saying, I've got this incredible problem, can you help me with it? And then just, do your magic. And then they get at the end of the session, they go, wow, I feel so much better. I prefer to educate. I prefer to say, this is why you're feeling better. This is what we did in the process. This is how your brain is configuring it. This is what the biochemistry is doing in your brain. And this is why. And I found that when you educate, you get much longer lasting change. And I'm a big fan of growing personally. Growth is my number one value. And I think, one of the things that we also have to do if we're going to be effective working with people is we also have to have someone working on us. So I have a spiritual coach, I have another coach, and my spiritual coach keeps me in check because, you can write best-selling books, you can get out there and do incredible things, and all of a sudden your ego starts running wild and you think you're the greatest thing that's ever lived. But I think that's not good. It's not healthy. And sometimes people put you on a pedestal, and therefore I don't agree with that. I think if people put people on pedestals, it means that someone's below someone else. And I like to kind of flatten the field. I don't really believe anyone's any better than anybody else. Just some people are more resourceful in some areas. Some people are a little bit more skillful in those areas because they've trained or they've learned.
I love it. It's so true. And that's one of our main pillars, Rik, is education, because we believe that when we can enlighten the world on what's happening, if we can pull back the covers and people can really see, this dirty little secret and have a better understanding of how it's created, why it's multi-generational, how we can make a change being an outsider looking in, and how we can empower survivors to stand up and live a different life. So we thoroughly connect to your process of education. I love it. And all as equals, yes. And it's fine for us to say that while we're on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
I've been on the other side of the fence for most of my life. And it doesn't matter, someone would say what you just said, Rik, and I'd go, yeah, right, it's okay for you to say that, because that's not how we see ourselves. Yeah. So one of our other main pillars is just empowering people so that they can lift their level of self-worth and their self-esteem and their self-image, so that they can lift themselves up and then in turn lift those around them up as well. So I love, Rik, everything you're saying is fantastic.
Thank you.
So you work mainly online, yes?
Mainly online. The thing that we used to do lots of talks. We used to get around, and get up on stages and do all that. But of course, COVID kicked in, and that put an end to a lot of that. We were also doing trainings. We were teaching life coaching and neuro-linguistic programming, and we just had to find those gaps when there weren't lockdowns and lockouts, and it became crazy. But the weird thing was about just before COVID happened, I said to all my students, I said, this is it. This is going to be the last year that I get in rooms and teach. From now on, I'm going to be doing everything online. And they all said, you're crazy. Why are you not, why are you not doing this anymore? I said, I don't know. My spiritual coach and me, we just kind of got that it's time to end that. And I had no idea that COVID was coming. So frankly, it was a great thing that we got out of those rooms and we stopped doing that. We still had a few trainings, as I say, that we had to try to find those COVID gaps and teach people. But one of the things that we're really, really big on is I like the duplication effect. I like the fact that when you really know how to untrain people's brains and help people, achieve what they really want to achieve, then I think the best thing that you can do is teach other people how to help other people. So that's the thing that I really love doing a lot. We have a lot of people, of course, who come into our programs that, don't want to teach and don't want to coach and don't want to help people. They really want to help themselves. But once they come through the program and they help themselves and they realize what they can actually do now, and they get this incredible faith in the tools and the techniques, then we usually get 50% of people say, nah, I'm just here for myself. And then by the end of the training, we get about 70, 80% say, no, I'm here to help others. And I love that, because I think the more we help one another, the kinder the world gets, because I've been at the other side. I know what it's like when you've suffered from domestic violence and you're angry or you're incredibly sad. You're not an asset to society, and you're not helpful. If you have anger in you, you're going to look for every single opportunity to get that out of you. And unfortunately, it's going to land on other people's shoulders. It's going to tarnish other people's lives. And so I think that when we get these things out of us, we create this opportunity to be a kinder person. And, I often, I guess I'm a bit of a romantic in the space of, the world and how it could be. But, I look at wars and I think, what sort of fury fueled that war? What sort of anger fueled that war? And I really do think mindset is the solution for a peaceful planet.
Hallelujah, you are speaking my language. I am a mind shift coach, which is the future of mindset.
Yeah.
And absolutely, you're speaking to my soul when you say about us making a difference, because my mission on this planet is to lift the frequency of the planet. And the only way we do that is by helping others and then others helping others. So that's how we're going to bring on the awakening of this planet so that we can all ascend. Now, we won't go there, but we could. I did in our last few minutes, Rik, want to know if you could share with our listeners and our watchers a little bit more about what it is that you offer. Have you got a current program that we can buy into? We've got many people who have gone through and are now into the light, and now they're looking for things to actually lift themselves up and educate and then also pay it forward. Can you share us a little bit about your program?
Yeah, we've got quite a few programs on our Life Beyond Limits website. The thing that I love doing the most is our life coach and NLP practitioner training. When COVID hit, what happened is the body, the NLPAA, which governs, the accreditation, had an urgent meeting and said, look, people can't teach this anymore, not during COVID. So what they did is they actually did us the biggest favor possible. They said, we will let you teach this course, but instead of doing it for 60 live hours, you have to do 120 live hours. And so I went out to my community and I said, okay, the great thing is we can do this for less money than we used to do it in live training rooms. We can do it over a longer period. We can give you more. And that's the program that I think would be the greatest program for people who are wanting to really break through and really begin to learn how to shift their lives. And it's our life coach and NLP practitioner program. So it's an accredited program, runs for 35 weeks, and it's intensive. There are so many tools. It is, I will say up front, that if you come in this program, I am going to put on my best sales hat and I'm going to sell you on using the tools that you learn and going out and helping others, because I really think that's what it's about. Like, what you're doing, Charlene, what this program is doing, all of these things, as you say, do increase the vibration of the planet as a whole. It's, the word love has probably got the greatest vibration and resonance to it, big time. And, and I think one very important thing that, many of the people that I meet in the coaching space and the healing space and the training space and the authors and speakers, they love what they do. They really love what they do. It doesn't feel like work because you're making a difference. We all get there every now and then. We all get in a flat spot. We're sitting, in the office or something, and we're thinking, I've got to do this project. So you do that, and your energy might go down a bit because it's taking too long or something like that. And then all of a sudden you get that email from one of your clients that says, thank you so much for that last session. I am now doing what I thought I could never do. And, all of a sudden, wow, your spirits lift and you get that buzz. And it's a bit hackneyed, I know, but it's the gift that keeps giving.
I love it, Rik. Thank you so much. And Rose has popped in the chat the links of how to move forward and connect with you. So it's been a privilege and a pleasure to spend quality time with you. I'm hoping that you can come back again, maybe next year. We've got a full calendar until January, February, actually March. Yeah. But if we could have you back, I love to listen to your stories, and I really resonate with how you're making a difference on this planet. Bless you, Rik. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. And actually, if I can throw a little challenge your way too. If you like, I have a radio program called Mind Matters. And we interview people like yourself each week. And, we talk about offering tips as to how you can help people to really shift their mindset and help them. So equally, I'd like to throw that at you if you'd like to come on the show at some point.
Blessings. Get us a link and we'll get that booked. It's been a privilege and a pleasure, Rik. Thank you. Welcome. I feel soul connection. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, Charlene. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rik. And over now to Rose. Rose is going to just jump on really quickly because we've got so much to tell you about what's happening for us next year. And it's going to start with, we're running a live event here in Adelaide. Now, we've got 25 really avid business owners who themselves are either survivors and or have been connected to someone who is, and they've decided they want to pay it forward. They've decided they want to give their services for free. And what that looks like is like a day spa on steroids. So the girls will walk through the room and the first thing they'll see is a room which is like a shop. Everything in there is for free. They'll be given a shopping bag and they can go and select whatever it is they want. And it's all for free. Handbags, jewelry, clothing, everything. It's amazing. And we've got some volunteers helping them make a selection there. Another room, they go in and they will have all sorts of spiritual healings. We've got girls doing bars, chakra aligning, energy work, you name it, it's all happening in that room. And then another room, we've got more of the beauty aspect. So we'll have ladies doing facials, ladies doing makeup, ladies doing hair. And then in another room, we've got workshops and information. We've got tea and coffee. It's all amazing. It is our opportunity as people who have survived and thrived to pay it forward and make a difference for our community. And I'm looking forward to you stepping up and either being a contributor or alternatively coming along as a survivor. And it's a safe place. We also have some emergency workers there as well in case there's any other challenges. So I don't know what happened to Rose. She was going to jump back on, but she's obviously not there. That's okay. Rose was going to share that we're working in Tasmania avidly to have our very first men's program, which we're very proud of. And that will be launched in Tasmania. It's a live event and that will be launched early next year. But stay tuned, follow our page, and we look forward to connecting with you. And again, thank you, Rik. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to spend lunchtime with you. We'll see you same time next week. Bye for now.
Thank you.
But that's all, folks. Rose, I'm not sure. Are you still there? Is there something happened? I can't tell if we're still live or not. So, Rik, we'll just have a conversation until Rose comes back.
Cool.
Oh, excellent. So until she comes back. So tell me, where are you based?
I'm based on the Sapphire Coast of New South Wales. So that's, do you know Merimbula area?
Yes, lovely.
Yeah. We took a sea change back in 2012. Which was fantastic. It's been, the ocean is just there, which is awesome.
Oh, I love it. We took a tree change and now we've moved into a reserve that goes for 30 kilometres.
Oh, wow. So where are you based, Charlene?
I'm in Windsor Gardens, right on Linear Park. So,
Where is that? What state?
so South Australia.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like sea, tree. I don't know. So I've got some affinity to trees. I'm not sure. It's a very strange love affair with trees.
Yeah.
So it's spectacular.
I love them both.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Hey,
Very
Rose, I
hard
don't know what happened. So
My screen froze and I couldn't get back on.
I did my outro and I did your outro.
Thank
Sorry.
you very much. Yes, appreciated it. But yeah, I couldn't get on because my screen froze. I couldn't unmute. I couldn't do anything.
If that's the worst thing that happens, you know what? We're still having a good day.
Yeah.
Rik, if you could in our group Facebook chat pop in that link, we'd be